Okay, we are in Parshas Shvuah. Please don't forget, subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. Okay, now, it's not as much fun anymore. But, okay, we're on Parshas Netzavim. Netzavim is usually, actually, with Vayelech. Baruch Hashem, this year, everything is, Netzavim Vayelech is split up, so it makes it much easier for me, the Baal Kriya. And also, the next four actually are very short, because you have Netzavim, Vayelech, Hazinu, and Torah Bracha. The craziest thing is, even though they're very short, they're extremely power-packed. They have a lot going on here. And when it comes to Netzavim, there's a couple of things. So we'll go through the introduction, and then we'll start discussing it. Okay, so it says, on the last day of his life, Moshe gathered together every member of the Jewish people, from the most exalted to the lowliest, old and young, men and women, and initiated them for the last time into the covenant of Hashem. What was new about this covenant was the concept of arvis, which is responsibility for one another. This is going to be something that the Kli Yakar is going to go at length to discuss. Why is it so important? Under which every Jew is obligated to help others observe the Torah and to restrain them from violating it. This is why Moshe began by enumerating all the different strata of the people who stood before him, and why he said that Hashem would not hold them responsible for sins that have been done secretly, but that they would be responsible for transgressions committed openly. That's your achayim. This is essential to the worldview of the Jew, for it explains why one may not be apathetic to the shortcomings of another, and why public desecrations of the Torah are the concerns of every Jew of good conscience. In other words, if I'm responsible for you, I have to worry about what you're doing. Midrashically, when the people heard the frightening litany of 98 curses in the admonition, which we read just last week, so they turned colors in fright at what seemed to be a hopeless future. Thereupon Moshe comforted them, saying that despite all the sins of the past, they were still standing before Hashem. Thus, the first two words, actually first four words, all of you are standing here today. Okay. So, just as he had not discarded them before, so that he would maintain them, so would he maintain them in the future. Fear of the admonition would prevent them from sinning, and if they did sin, the punishments would bring them atonement, not destruction. Okay, so that is, again, that's the introduction. So now, let's get to the verse. Today, you are all standing, all of you. Okay, by the way, there's two things here. Atem, not to get too grammatical, but atem, if it's such, you, then it says kulchem, all of you. Yeah. You, all of you. So, interesting. That's number one. Then it says Lifnei Hashem Lokechem, before Hashem your God. Then we start to enumerate. Rasheichem, your heads. Shiftechem, your tribes. Zikneichem, your elders. Vishotreichem, and your officers. Kol, every Ish Yisrael, every man of Israel. Okay, then it continues. Tapchem, your children. Nesheichem, your women, your wives. V'gercha asher b'kerav machanecha, and your strangers that are in the midst of your camps.
The gercha, how you explain that?
Will I explain it?
Will it be explained?
Well, there are different people who say different things, so yes. Ultimately, everything is going to be explained. Okay. But what would you have a question about that? As far as it being a convert or something?
Yeah, so because
Rashi said, the English says proselyte.
Translating it,
and the uncle says giorach. So
he's translating it as proselyte.
Proselyte, right? Okay. Yeah. Then it says mechote veitzecha, from the hewers of your hewers of wood. Yeah. Ad sho'ev, until those who draw your water, the water drawers. Now, when it comes to those two, so Rashi will, I'll just give you the Rashi right here. Mechotze v'sechem Melamed teaches us, Sheba'u Kanaanim l'tgayer, v'mei Moshe, that in the days of Moshe, the Canaanites came, and they wanted to convert. Kederach Sheba'u Givonim v'mei Yeshua, just as the Gibeonites came in the time of Joshua. And that's V'zeu she'amar b'giv'onim ya'asu gam hema b'irma, and that's what it says that Giv'onim also made this trickery. Unetanam, and Moshe made them into chotve eitzim shoyframayim. But Moshe wasn't tricked by these Canaanim, and he immediately made them into water drawers and wood ewers. Okay, so that's why we were including them. So not only your leaders, and Rashi says, what does that mean, your leaders? Rashechem l'shivtechem, the leaders to your tribes, not your leaders, your tribes, not 4 different groups here, but the leaders to your tribes, your elders, and now what Rashi says, the more important first, and then you continue on downward. Okay, so
the Canaanites took over these jobs.
yeah.
So are they converts? What are
No,
they?
they weren't converts.
So why are they obligated for anything?
Because they didn't want to die. They didn't want to die. So they would. They were like the Canaanite slaves. Every Canaanite would put them into the category.
Okay.
Yeah, literally every Canaanite. Yeah.
So is that? I know we talked about this elsewhere, but is that like the Bnei Noach of that day, or is it?
No, they're higher.
Different, higher.
Right. The Bnei Noach only have to follow 7 commandments. The every Canaanite has to follow
the same as a woman does.
Right. All the negatives and some of the and most positives.
Except for the time bound.
Except for some of the time bound, not some of the time bound. In other words, women also have time bound because they have Shabbos. So it's not in the Gemara, not to go too far afield, but in the Gemara in Kedushin, it sets it up by saying women are exempted from all time-bound commandments. So the question says, so they're not obligated to Shabbos, not obligated to... No, so once you have a negative with a positive, then the women are obligated. Okay, so then they find other things. Altogether, what we're arguing about, if I remember the count correctly, is 12 mitzvot. Out of all of the mitzvot we're talking, is 12. That's the only thing that women are exempted from, 12 mitzvot. I don't think there's more than that.
Wow.
Okay, so with all the women livers running around and yelling that we're second class, blah, 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 according to Orthodox, you're talking about 12. That means you have 365, and 248 minus 12 would be 230 what? 236.
Yeah.
236.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about 236 positive, 365 negative. So, ladies, there should be enough, but okay. So, but what, and then what happens? Remember, they're not obligated to lulav. They're not obligated to sit in the sukkah. They're not obligated to tefillin, and they're not obligated to
davening at specific
times. No, davening at specific times, but they're obligated to daven. So twice a day, actually.
So Shema, yeah?
No, not Shema, Shema Esrei.
Oh, really? Obligated?
Obligated to Shema Esrei. Because that's asking for mercy. So you have to do that. They're not obligated to talit, because it's time bound. So again, shofar. Now what happened is they decided that they obligate themselves to shofar, but really it's not obligated. But there's so many, those things, like I forget the 12, but I think there's only 12 that we're talking about. Okay, fine. Minyan is not from the Torah. Minyan, the public prayer is not Torah. It's not Torah-itic, it's rabbinic.
Yeah.
The rabbi said we need a minyan, blah, blah, blah. And they connected to the spies, and I mean, so on and so forth. But there's no biblical injunction that says you must daven the minyan.
Must tend to say, well, this is
that's something else. But I'm saying there's no mitzvah deraita.
Yeah.
There's no biblical injunction to daven the minyan. If I want to, again, what I always tell you is like this: if I want HD TV, I want my minyan. If I want cable TV, I just want the show. If I want rabbit ears, I'll daven wherever I am, home or wherever it's going to be. So that's the reception you're getting.
Yeah.
So if I want to increase the reception, it's fine. So now we have the rabbinic injunction to daven with a minyan. That's why even in the halacha, it says one should strive to daven with a minyan. It doesn't say you have to daven with a minyan.
Yeah.
Okay. So that when people want to, everybody has looked at minyan as being one of the mitzvot. It's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah. It's a rabbinic injunction. I very much for it. Obviously, I work at it. So, it's important. It certainly keeps shuls going, and it keeps the Jewish community together, like I've said in other classes. So, minyan is very important, but it's not something that we should be arguing about, about can I or can't I join in? The answer is no. You're not obligated by the rabbis to do that because it's time bound or whatever this could be, or you don't have to do that. You have to daven, but you don't have to be part of it. But it doesn't mean that they can't join with the minyan. Just like everybody else, you can get benefit from the minyan. When women are, it bothers me, I'll say this publicly, it bothers me that when we're davening here after Shalosh Shudas, and there are women in there, they don't join us. They should join us. Chaparayim, get the mitzvah of fulfill that desire to reach Hashem at a higher level than you normally could. And that again, it can only be done with a minyan. So they could join us for Baruch Hu, they could join us to answer Yesh Rabbah, and so on and so forth, and break through the ceilings and not only rely upon Tehillim and everything else that people want to say, or there's other segulot that they want to do. I don't know. It seems to me a simple thing. If that's when you put the what's the expression? You put it to the test. You really want to just join us because you want us to count you when you want to show up, or do you really want to serve Hashem? If you want to serve Hashem, so join us. Every day, every morning. Who cares? Join. There's some women who will come every morning, even though they're not saying Kaddish for somebody else, because they want to daven at that level. I knew when I was in Sharon, the rabbi's daughter used to come because she wanted to daven at that level. Beautiful. Yeah. We put the mechitzav, no problem. We all respected that. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So I'm not sure I go into that one, but okay, fine. Rabbi Nebel rants. Okay. So now what happens is, he lines everybody up. Now, like I said, the Kli Yakar does go to length, so I want to just cover some of it. He said, he looks at this and says, what Moshe is doing right now is putting us into, like we said, Arvis, this guarantorship, where I'm guaranteeing you, you're guaranteeing me. So he says, I can just find it really quickly. Like here, he says, any guarantor who sees the lender, the person who lent, the person who borrowed money, the borrower, the person who wasting the money, throwing the money around, that's what he's going to reproof him. He's going to tell him off. Why? Meira, because he has trepidation. Maybe he'll have to pay in his stead. In other words, if Reuven borrows from Shimon, and he has Levi as his guarantor, and Levi sees Reuven throwing money, burning money as it were, he's on the hook for it to Levi. She's saying to Reuven, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't waste your money. Don't waste my money. Pay him back. So kach bizman Yisrael arevim zebazeh. So also, similarly, when the Jews are guarantors for each other, as I call Mishi Yesh Biyado Lachiach Pirauto Yachid or Rabim Notim Miderech HaSeichel. So then, if an individual sees who has the power to reproof him, and he sees either the individual or the group straying from the way of Seichel, how do you say Seichel? Intelligence, I guess. Seichel. So who machaziro lemutav? He caused them to return to the good way. And on the other hand, but if he shuts his eyes to it, so now he puts himself in his place. And thus the sins of the many are hanging on this guy. If he had the ability to reproof them, they would have listened. He didn't. He said, forget it, I'm not interested, I'm not going to get involved in this. Their sins are now his because he's the But if a person doesn't have that power to reprove somebody, in other words, they're not going to listen to him. And has no tendency yet. So then this whole savara, this whole reasoning that the sin is going to attach them doesn't happen. Because if that was the case, if I don't have the power to reprove you and to tell you not to do it, no, you're not going to listen to me. So then, and God's going to hold me responsible for that. So then, you can't leave anybody alive. Everybody's going to be punished. There's nobody that's going to survive that. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, if I can't be your guarantor, if I don't have the money to cover your bets, as it were, so I'm not a good guarantor. You're not going to listen to me. Okay, so and so for this, so then they wouldn't have entered into the law of this covenant of Arevus. Now he said, if we find that at times that the Gedolim, also the great ones, grab onto the sins of the generation in a hidden manner, just like we see in Achan in the story of Joshua. So that was before this entry into Arvis, that they didn't have the fear on him. So that's why they didn't really watch what was going on. So they said that Tochacha wouldn't help. And everybody who's a sinner or a bitter of spirit, or he gives himself the brach of shalom because he says, I got away with it. Why? Because since the people who could reprove did not reprove, so they figure, so justice is just being let go. They've loosened the reins, as it were. So now I can do what I want to do. I feel good about myself. Therefore, they're going to do bundles and bundles of averot. Sometimes revealed, sometimes open, sometimes hidden. But let's say the big guys are always reproving the people when they see it happening. So then people are going to be afraid to do it, even secretly. Because lest the thing become known. Okay, so he's saying that's what's going on. We have to, the people have to stand up and they have to reproof the sinner when they see it. That way, everybody will understand that when you're caught, it's going to be worse for you. But why am I doing it? Because I'm responsible for you. And he also gives an interesting thing that who starts it? The wicked start it. Who has to get punished first? The righteous. Because the righteous should have been speaking out against the wicked. You are the guarantor. Okay? It's a very interesting... I just covered a little bit of what he was talking about, but it's a very interesting thing he's doing with this to say how far Arvis is, Aravis or Arvis, how you want to pronounce it at this point. People, they're going to too much to pronounce it. But we used to say Aravis. It's Arevut. But it's the guarantorship really has a lot to do here, and that's what we're creating. That we're all responsible for each other, and when we see somebody doing something wrong, in a very nice manner, we're supposed to try to get them back on the right path.
We hear them talk about guarantor, so the first thing that does come to mind, though, is like in a financial way, a guy's falling down, you need to help pick him up. Everybody pitches in a little bit, but also like so, if he's falling down because he's not doing the Torah properly, so you have to try to bring him along the way.
Right, but the reason you're doing it for in the money category is you don't want to pay. Right? You don't want to pay. So if I see Reuven, again, wasting money when he owes it to Shimon, and I'm the guy who has to pay otherwise, I say to Reuven, what the heck are you doing to me? I don't want to pay for you.
No, so not even that. Right. No, so really, I mean, for community funds, Gemach funds. And,
Right.
If you're in a fortunate position, so you contribute, you give, make it
Correct.
available.
Correct.
And just whatever the general fund like that other people can draw from as they need it. We have.
But I'm saying but that's not the guarantor we're talking about. Again, we have to drive this home.
Yeah.
The guarantorship is Reuven wants to borrow money from Shimon. Shimon knows that Reuven's a bad risk. Shimon comes to you and says, Mr. Arnstein, are you willing to guarantee Reuven's loan?
If he lends it,
And
if I can't pay him back, you're responsible.
If he doesn't pay it back, Mr. Arnstein, it's on you. And you say, I know Reuven. Reuven's a stand-up guy. He said, you can know him, Mr. Arnstein. And if you want to guarantee it, I will be more than happy to give him the money. You sign on the dotted line. Okay, so you say, no problem. You sign on the dotted line. Now you see Reuven buying options. Okay, I'm going to make it big. Or he goes to the crap stable. It can does the same thing sometimes if you don't know what you're doing. But, and you say, whoa, Reuven, whoa, what are you doing? He said, Mr. Arnstein, I want to double the money. No.
So you have to
this is my money. You're spending my money now. So pay him back, then do what you want. Right? That's what you would do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pay. You guarantee them. You don't want to pay them money.
But we're still, in other words, the bottom line, we're still responsible, period.
Right.
If he doesn't pay, you got to do what you're supposed to.
You have to pay. You have to pay. So now put this into mitzvot.
Yeah.
When the person doesn't fulfill his mitzvah, who's punished?
So
I'm punished.
Yeah, you would think that the guy who didn't do it, you would think.
Right. Well, he'll be punished too, but I'm
In other
responsible
words,
for
if
him.
you know about it,
If I know and I have the power to make him do it,
you're
again,
not doing it,
I have to have the power.
that's
But I don't
kind
have
of the same thing.
Right.
He's not paying the money back. Now you got to pay it back.
Right. So I have to tell him, hey, Reuven, put your tefillin on. Reuven, keep Shabbos. Reuven, do this. Reuven, do. What are you doing? You're hurting me. You're not hurting. It's not, the old joke is the guy's in the lifeboat and he's drilling a hole. And they say to him, what are you doing? You're drilling a hole in the boat. We're going to drown. Don't worry, it's only under me. What are you, an idiot? Yes, I'm an idiot. Okay. But that's what happens with Arevus. When we came guarantors for each other, so if I don't do something, I don't fulfill my part, then you have to fill it in for me. Hashem is looking and saying, okay, who's paying up? Let's go. So that's why all this happens to be. So now when I see you not doing it, I have two choices. I can either ignore it, but Hashem says, boom, boom,
So
boom
what do
to
we
me.
do on a broader communal level?
Right, yeah.
We see the vast majority going astray. Very difficult.
And that's why you had so many schools with the Balei Tshuva movement trying to get to this very day, people trying to entice people back, and because there is this concept of
About
Arevus.
standing on the street corner, a young guy, come on, put the filling on.
Right. But it's also, that's why you have so many Torah tapes out there today. So many, besides, they're not advertising like me that I want to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can get, AdSense and so on and so forth. But really, that's what they're really putting stuff out, as am I, putting stuff out there for people to learn something, and maybe something will turn them on. I don't know. But this is our attempt to say to people, wake up. We're all responsible for each other. And that goes for the good and for the bad. Again, when they do something good, it also works out for me. When somebody keeps Shabbos, it works for me and for them. They get benefit from that. So, why not? Why not work together? But that's really why you have all these groups, Esha Torah or Sameach, all these different things. And you have people from off the Derech and so on and so forth. You have a whole bunch of groups trying to do it. Are they doing a good job? Obviously not.
Well,
The vast majority of Jews are not keeping Shabbos. The vast majority. Perhaps maybe 10%, if you're lucky, who are. 90% aren't.
The observer community continues to grow.
The other ones are dying out. But that doesn't help us. That doesn't help. Again, Hashem is saying, you're letting my children die. Okay, so what are you doing? So, okay, you're going to win, shkoyach. We always said, everybody admits, that the Orthodox community is going to win that war of attrition. There's no question about that. Because we're just having more kids. And we're also investing in day school education. And we're doing the stuff and so on and so forth. We're living around the shul. You can't beat that sort of infrastructure. But the others, they're having less kids, and they're intermarrying and so on and so forth. So they're dying out. But that's not a good situation. Hashem is looking to us and saying, "Why you let my children die?" So it's not. Again, we'll win, I guess. If you call that winning, we win. But it's not a good win.
Yeah. The others they're depending upon cultural and social
but they're not
things to bring people in.
And they're losing miserably, which is why they're closing, which is why the shuls are shrinking, and so on and so forth.
Again, you don't want to throw those things away, but you got to have the whole package.
No, I agree. Yeah. But again, that's all part of Arevis. And I'm going to say this again. 25 minutes. Who's listening, right? Yeah. But if all of us would work together. Conservative Orthodox Reconstructionists, everybody would work together with the goal of trying to get people back to Torah, which of course Conservative Reform and what's the other one? Conservative Reform and Reconstructionists really don't hold by. They don't have the same concept of Torah as I'm saying. But if we would all go for the observance and so on and so forth. So
in other words, at least do something.
Not do something, but recognize that it's come from God, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So, and we have an obligation to do things that could change the pendulum. Yeah. But nobody wants to do that because it goes against their philosophy. It's sad. It's really sad. It's very sad. Yep. Because, like I said, if I would see that the definition of is insanity is doing it over and over again, expecting a different result. So we already see that watering down anything doesn't make it better. When you show people the reason
palatable, and then it just dissipates.
When you show people that this is what it is, and this is the these are the advantages of keeping the law. Okay, I'll give you one example. The opposite side. When somebody dies, an Orthodox Jew has less of a problem with the death than a non-Orthodox Jew. Because the Orthodox Jew, I'm talking about really truly Orthodox, not just one who goes to an Orthodox shul, but an observant, I'll put to a Torah observant Jew, has that hashkafa, has the philosophy that Hashem said, okay, it's time to come home. You fulfilled your mission, and you did everything. It's a completion. And on top of that, it's not the end. It's not you're buried 6 feet under. Now you have Gan Eden. You have all, as we learned in Derech Hashem. There's a whole hashkafa that goes. There's a whole philosophy that goes with that. If you're not religious, or not observant, you don't know about heaven or hell. You have your Christian concepts, and that's about it. And you're not even sure what to do, what's going on, and you start crying and you get lost in the abyss of grief. Okay, for an Orthodox Jew, again, you have Shiva, you have Shloshim, you have a year, and you're gone. And you go on with life, and that's what it's supposed to be. So on that side, that's what I'm saying, on that simple side, we know what to do. We sit Shiva, we stay at home, that's the end of it. We close down the business. Mm-hmm. If we have a business, we close it down for a week, no big deal. That's what we're supposed to do. We understand that, and Hashem gives you that time to think about it, to talk about it, and people have to come to you. Mm-hmm. We don't go to the Shiva house doesn't come to us, we go to the Shiva house. Yeah. Right? When we bring the food and we do what we're going to do, it doesn't become, again, in the non-Orthodox world, what happens? It becomes a smorgasbord. They're bringing in meats and everything else, and they're telling everybody, eat. Okay, that's a Jewish thing to do, but really we're supposed to feed them. They're not supposed to be feeding us. I never ate at a Shiva house.
Yeah, really.
I said, no, this is for you. Thank you very much. I had to eat twice in my Shiva. I don't need to, the other stuff. That's crazy. But again, that's what it is.
When my mother passed away, and I told my immediate supervisor that from the time of the burial, which I think was the next day,
Yep.
I wouldn't be at work for the next 7 consecutive. Well, it's normally it's a Monday through Friday job, but until the following week of that day, he said, "You'll fire you if you don't show up." I said, "Fine, I don't care." He didn't fire me though.
Right. So, no, because they understand this. When they realize it's religious, so they back off. That was they can be sued. But I'm just saying that's the difference of the groups. When you have this concept that I'm responsible for you, which they don't have. Again, in the other groups, they don't have that responsibility. They don't have that concept of a ravis. They may talk about it, but they don't have it. That if somebody doesn't do it, that they are going to be held responsible for that. Come on, they don't. That's only within the Orthodox groups, and that's only for those who are learning Torah. So that's what I'm saying. Those sort of concepts are what keep us together and strengthen us, and also keep us on the, say, I have to worry about you. If I don't see you, I have to worry about you. If you're not getting what you need, why aren't you getting what you need? Let's check it out. Again, we may fall on that. I'm not saying people don't fall through the cracks, but that's part of a ravis. That's all part of a ravis, okay? So now the verse 11. So what did he do? He gathered everybody together. By the way, why does he get everybody together too? Another thing which I don't want to forget. He wanted to make it that you won't have the right to say, if I was there, I wouldn't have agreed. Right? She said, everybody's here. If you want to speak up, now's the time. Let's speak up. From the top of the group to the bottom of the group, everybody's here. You don't like what we're saying, you don't want to agree, speak up. Now, or forever hold your peace. Okay, that's what he's really doing. So he says, so you're going to pass them into or incorporate, establish, how does he say it, pass you into the covenant of Hashem and into its curses, that Hashem is making with you, cutting with you today. Why is he emphasizing today? Because we're supposed to see it, even today, as if it was today. I mean, that's always, whenever you see today, it's the same sort of situation. Okay. Okay, and then he says, so where is it? I lost the place. Oh, Lamanakim Odcha, in order to establish you, Hayom Lo, it should be for you to be a nation, for you L'Chalahim, and he should be to you for a God. Kashir Diberlach, like he spoke to you. Kashir Nishbal Avatecha, like he spoke, like it was sworn to your fathers, Avram, Yisrael, and Yaakov. And he says, Lo Etchem Levadchem, and not only with you alone. Anochi Koredet Brit Hazot, that I am making this covenant with you and this Ve'eda Allah Hazot, and also this curse. Ki et Asher Yeshno Po, that there is that. But also that you were with us today, here today, and also those who aren't with us today. Who aren't with us? I just said everybody's there. So who's not with you? Okay? So Rashi says on that, where is it? V'ef adorat ha'atidem liyot, also the future generations. This is where we get the concept of not only did he get those people into the covenant, but for, the souls of everybody was there at Sinai and at this point. The future generation. You're making me, my great grandfather, accepted it on my behalf. We were all part of it. That's the part of Arevis too. It goes generationally. So I can't say, well, I'm living in 2018, and therefore I'm not responsible anymore. I reject the covenant. No, we were there. You were deal with. That's what he says. When he says Ashir Einenu Poim Anayom, it means me. I wasn't there, and I could have spoken. My neshama, as it were, could have spoken. An amazing concept that we're having. And it says, and then, by the way, it's the first two aliyahs.
Oh, yeah, it's very short.
Okay. I normally don't get the first leaf, and now I get the first two leaves. There you go. Done. Okay. And so then, what was this? Okay. Fine. This is Atem ki Atem yadatem, because you know. In Asher Yisham ve'Eretz Yisrael that we dwelled in the land of Mitzrayim, and that we passed through in the midst of the nations, that you passed, and you saw their abominations, and their detestable idols of AIDS for Evan, wood and stone, Kesef Zahav, Hashemehem, and the silver and the gold that was with them. Now Rashi says here that why did we have a separation? He asks the question, why do we have a separation between wood and stone and silver and gold? Why separation? Okay, we're talking about idols. So he said, why the wood and the stone? He said, the ones that were stone and wood and stone, we saw that they were open. Anybody could see them. Why? Because the non-Jews were not afraid that those would be stolen. They're wood, they're stone, nobody's going to take them. They're heavy, they're light, whatever, they're worthless. They're not worth anything. Aval kel shel kesef is a hav. But when it comes to the silver and gold, it says imahem. It was with them. Where? Bechadre mashkiotamim. That was in their rooms. Why? They're afraid they're going to get stolen. If they're gold and silver gods, people might like them, and they're going to take them home with them. They'll melt it down, and so on and so forth. So it's interesting that, it gets to the point that we know, or it's proof. It seems to be proof that they knew that the silver and the gold themselves were not gods, because otherwise, why would you be afraid of your God being stolen? You know what I'm saying? It's a very weak God at that point. So it seems to be implying that these were just pictures, if you will, focal points of those gods that they were trying to imagine. Or you just have to say that they were idiots. I mean, if we don't have to, I'm trying to make sense out of idol worshippers, but they're not afraid to shy. They have their wooden stone ones out there, but not their silver and gold. Okay. Again, Rashi wants to say they were afraid of them being stolen. It's a very interesting concept. Okay. And then it says, "Pen yesh bachem ish or isha, lest there be amongst you ish or isha, a man or a woman, or mishpacha or shevet, or a family or a tribe, that his heart, however you want to look at that, will turn from Hashem, your God, to go and to worship Elahei Agoyim, the gods of the nations, of those nations, lest there be a root of flourishing with gall and wormwood. And so what's happening here? It says, I think it's the Ramban who brings this up, that, I don't have the Ramban here, I'm just going from memory. Oh, so he says, he's giving his thing, but he says, curiosity is like a root that grows and grows. It begins with a desire to learn about the abominations of Canaan, but the root will flourish and produce heresies that are bitter and harmful as gall and wormwood. That's how he looks at it. But the other way to look at it is, apicorsis doesn't start from nothing. In other words, walking away from God doesn't just, one day I just don't wake up and say, I don't believe. What happens is there's a root there. It could be from the grandfather who made a statement, didn't hold by something, made fun of something, and that grows and grows and grows and grows and grows, but it's the root. So either the root is a sweet root, or it's going to be a bitter root. But bottom line is, something's going to grow out of that. So that's why it doesn't happen instantaneously. It never does. Yeah. There's always something there before. What we do is we see, and that's what happens when people go, quote unquote, off the derech.
Yeah.
They were from the whole life and suddenly they go off. Well, no, it wasn't. They didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I don't believe."
Yeah.
What happened was something that was going on and on and on and on, and it was stage for stage. But we didn't see it until it was too late. That's our fault. But that's what's going on here, and we'll have to stop with that part. Okay.